Obviously, our introductions, we're going to talk about the consumer shifts that are happening because of some of these holiday shifts in media mindsets, talking about how media behavior is altering the consumption of some of these folks, and then also some of these retail and commerce trends that we can lean into and how to turn this into long-term growth. As a quick reminder, I already introduced ourselves, so Wes and Ben, thank you very much. And let's talk a little bit about what we're going to get into today. And as a quick reminder, everybody, we will be sending out the recording and the slides to everyone tomorrow morning. Bonus. So I'm going to toss a couple of bonuses out there. The first one, and this was a surprise. I don't think Wes knew I was doing this. If you are on the webinar today and you are not following Adcelerant on LinkedIn, please go follow us on LinkedIn right now. I'm going to pick a single person out of the list of people who actually follow us on LinkedIn within the next 45 minutes, and you'll be receiving a $20 Amazon gift card. So that'll be pretty cool. Second bonus, after you go and like us on Adcelerant LinkedIn, and then follow me as well. You should follow Wes. He's pretty hilarious. We are going to be sending a holiday playbook for everybody to download afterwards. So a nice little gift to wrap up, put underneath the tree for the holiday season. But it's going to be a nice little playbook for all of you to lean into while you're talking to your advertisers and representing this opportunity to them. Feel free to use the Q&A chat feature that's within the webinar. We will be monitoring those live on the spot. If you want to toss them our way, that'd be great. We'll take them either on the spot or we can address them afterwards. So feel free to use that. Now that we've got all that stuff covered, let's go ahead and start talking about these consumer and holiday shifts. So there's a new big picture that we have to look at here, you guys. The 2025 holiday season is expected to be the slowest growth year since 2009. Think of that. 2009. Geez, that was when we graduated high school or something like that, right? The retail sales are projected to increase just 1.2% year over year and are going to reach a 1.36 trillion spend, which is pretty significant. But why is this important? There's tariffs and inflation that are weighing heavily on consumer confidence, and nearly half of holiday shoppers are saying that they plan to spend less this year because of continued economic uncertainty. I know we've talked about economic uncertainty for like 2 years now, 3 years, 4 years, especially after the COVID stuff. But here's the key for everybody. While overall retail growth is slowing, mobile is booming. More than half of all e-commerce sales will happen on those smartphones. That means that the mobile-first strategies are not optional. They are mission critical. So if you can help your advertisers adapt to this cautious mobile-first consumer journey, you'll win budget with them. And it's not just for this holiday season. It's going to produce loyalty for them heading into 2026 past this challenging holiday season as well. So when we look at that, we got a couple of charts here. This is from eMarketer in particular. Couple of key takeaways when we look at this, you guys. Holiday sales growth is slowing, like we mentioned before, but this is going to mark the weakest increase in years. Still an increase, okay? There's still more opportunity for these retailers and advertisers, and every single category is feeling that squeeze. So even essentials like food and household goods are cooling down a little bit, while those big ticket items like automobiles, home improvement, those are also facing some declines too. So another thing we need to think about here is that competition for those consumer dollars are now going to intensify because of those things. So with limited growth, increased competition, Q4 is no longer your safety net when it comes to making it or breaking it for the year. A lot of times, advertisers close about 80% of their revenue during Q4 alone. So brands must start looking beyond that short-term holiday spike and start building strategies that sustain that momentum into the new year. Wes,
Yeah.
let's start off with this one. Here's a good little quote.
Yeah, I think, Ben's a really good segue into, the main topic of today, which is like getting started now. I think everyone is starting to see the shift in user behavior this year. I think this, is a huge fact that 1/3 of shoppers are starting, their process in October. I like to call out, my good old mother is very type A. She typically starts her shopping process in like August. She's usually done with holiday shopping by Thanksgiving. She's kind of an outlier, but I think we're starting to see some more individuals start to kind of follow in that process. And so now's the time to start getting in front of those users. We want to start impacting kind of that decision-making process early on and make sure we're getting in front of those users, as they start this journey.
This is one statistic I may not fall under. What is it, the 25th of September will start my shopping about 89 days on the 24th of December. Hasn't always worked out great for me.
Yeah. So what's in it for you, the partner? So, here's what the things we need to care about, right? Agencies, media companies, and brands, if we can move early and with our advertisers, we can start to capitalize on that budget. We can capture that budget earlier. And it's also really important to start to build in kind of that multi-wave approach of campaigns, which we'll touch on in a few more slides later. But it's really important that we're extending these campaigns, for multiple months. It's going to allow you, the partner, to really prove out the campaign success. It's going to allow the campaigns to be optimized a little bit ahead of schedule so that when we get into the peak buying times, let's say, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, those campaigns are thriving. We're not making optimizations, in that moment. They're already primed and ready to go. And that's going to help prove ROI. It's going to help prove attribution. And it's going to really set up for long-term client retention. And then to Ben's point earlier, mobile is seeing a boom. And so it's really important that as we go into Q4, we're looking at kind of multimedia mix campaigns. We're running streaming. We have kind of that mobile back end as well to kind of capture those conversions, to re-engage users who have visited the site and really drive home, that attribution and that success for the campaign.
So we really need to meet the consumer where the consumer wants to be met is, bottom line, right?
Yeah, I think the one thing that we'll kind of touch on throughout this webinar today is really not about, being on that specific channel where we think the user might be. Let's get them in the moment. Let's hit them, in that moment of their research, in that decision. And we're going to kind of discuss how that moment may have changed compared to previous years.
Did you plan that one, Wes? Had it set me up here, right? So we're got to talk about the media behaviors that we have and the holiday moments that this is creating, right? So you think about, I mean, I have a problem. I love seeing advertisements, whether it's out of home, digital, social media, traditional media. I sit there and I think, why am I receiving this ad? How have they met me, the audience, or that targeted person in the right way? Here's a little trick for everybody. If you are looking to get certain gifts from like your spouses for the holidays, go grab their phone and do a couple of searches on it right now for those things that you want. I don't know if you're going to get that new smoker that you want, Wes, but we'll
I
see
know.
if that happens, right?
Yeah, we'll prime the wife with a couple of Traeger ad searches real quick.
You might have to cook her a couple of prime fillets over the next few weeks to, land that one. Tell her, oh, it'll be for you, baby, right?
That's right.
So with these media behaviors that we have, we need to understand how to leverage them. And Wes, I want you to tell the team here, or the team, let's tell our audience here, how are we going to make sure that we're taking advantage of those media behaviors?
Yeah, I think, when we think about the holiday season, we really think about, families coming together. It's much more about just a streaming TV campaign or, a standard programmatic campaign. It's really about how do we capture that shared attention. This is a time in the year where individuals are not just watching TV alone. They're sharing those moments with their families, with their friends. They're coming together more frequently. I don't know about you guys, but I see my family probably more in Q4 than I do the other 3 quarters. And so December 2024, as an example, marked a record where 43% of all TV viewing was from streaming TV itself. That's a 9% increase from November 2024, and I'm sure that number is going to continue to jump here in 2025. And so we know families are starting to gather more. They're getting in front of the big screen, and it's creating, again, like those moments where we want to get our brands in front of. And so as users begin their shopping, journey, they're educating themselves on what products they're looking for, what their spouse may want or their children. how do we now get in front of them in that decision-making process, again, in those moments? And it's really important to tie the messaging of our creatives, which we'll touch on here in a few slides, towards, being together, towards family, towards relationships, and really kind of honing in again on the time of year that we're going into.
Hone in on those emotions. Wes, me and you both have children now compared to 10 years ago when we started working together. I know I'm crying a lot more than I used to, right? So,
Yeah,
hit them where it's emotional, create those moments and be a part of them. And when you guys get in front of them and you're able to, meet them where they're at and create that emotional moment for them, it's impacting that decision-making process that they might make in 15, 30, 45 days even. So it's a great way to kind of come at it.
Yeah, it's a great way to, again, to really in October, and as we get into, again, I'm considering kind of that prime buying season, which will be, early November into Black Friday. It's important now that we get in front of them. We're getting that awareness. We're building kind of that loyalty. I can think of numerous commercials I've seen, now that I'm a little bit older, I cry a little bit easier, and I'll see some ads, and, it really tugs on those heartstrings a little bit. And I can remember them, 3, 4 years later, I still kind of have like brand loyalty. Dove Men's Care did a really great campaign a few years ago, and that's all I buy now. And so it does matter. And we talk about connected TV specifically. We know it's going to drive really strong completion rates. We're seeing around 98% so far this year. We also know that big screen is persuasive. To that point, I saw a Dove's Men Care ad 2 or 3 years ago, and it's impacted, my purchase decision so far, and we're seeing that it's driving about a 2.2 time kind of higher recall of that brand, of that ad. It's driving 1.3 times higher purchase intent compared to mobile. So we're seeing that users are really engaging with the streaming TV space. 83% of viewers are also, and I'm super guilty of this, and I know Ben probably is as well.
Oh my
We're
God.
watching TV, we're still sitting there with our mobile phone, probably scrolling, looking at, websites, whatever it might be. That's a great thing for advertisers, right? Like, let's use the tech that we have here at AdCellerant, our cross-graph capabilities, to where we know that we served a household an impression on their streaming TV device, but we're able to track them on their mobile. We're able to see, did they go visit the website? Did they convert? And we can tie that back to that streaming TV campaign. Again, really driving home that ROI for your client, giving you that attribution that you can say, hey, look what we've done for you in Q4. Let's double down in Q1 and make sure we're retaining those clients, we're retaining your users, and kind of building, again, that kind of long-term loyalty.
I love that. And let me recap this because I think that this is a really important one that everybody can use to take to their advertisers, brands, folks that they're talking to help really solidify their advertising budget with you. Almost 2.5 times more brand recall. That means when they're ready to buy something, they think, oh yeah, I saw Dove 2 years ago, even. That's what CTV is doing. And it's increasing the purchase intent with these products. And then the last thing I want to really drive home that Wes mentioned here, he's using cool words like cross-device graphics and data and all this kind of stuff. But, let me put it in a salesman's, verbiage here, nomenclature. You're able to see that we delivered an ad to a person on their big screen in their family room, den, whatever that might have been, and also tell us if they then converted on their smaller screen device, tablet, mobile, so on and so forth. Is that an accurate thing to say?
Yeah, spot on.
Keeping me honest. I love it.
Always.
Wesley, beautiful stuff here. So let's keep talking about it. So when we're looking at those cultural events that really matter here, the Thanksgiving Day Macy's parade drew over 31 million viewers, its highest ever just last year. The National Dog Show even reached 23 million viewers last year. That is absolutely wild. I know we have it on in our den and even in the side room and the basement everywhere during Thanksgiving holidays. So we know that it's being seen. You also just can't get enough of those cute pups, right? I like the ones that have all the wrinkles and you can stick your fingers between their fat, right? Real cute stuff there. But when we also look at is, thank God it's football season, right, Wes? Go Broncos.
Broncos.
Here we go. We got to layer in those NFL moments as well. Plus, the NBA is coming. Christmas Day is huge, and you've got these signature holiday events to deliver the mass reach which will build in that cultural relevance for these campaigns. But this isn't just national. These local moments matter too, you guys. City tree lightings, holiday markets, school concerts. These feel national in spirit, but can be activated locally. And agencies and our partners and media companies can curate streaming TV buys at those local levels, which can help those local advertisers connect with the shoppers right there in their communities. So, a couple of cool events you can leverage there too. All right. When we're looking at where the attention is living, again, meet them where they're at. Um, there's a simple picture of this holiday behavior. Attention is on the streaming, and the purchase is made on these smaller devices, right? Like your phones. 83% of these adults are on the streaming platforms. I remember seeing statistics, I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago, because everybody's, cutting the cord, right? I think my mother-in-law is like one of the last people I know that still has a direct TV subscription, and I keep telling her, like, get off it. You can just piggyback on my YouTube stuff. But like we need to think about who is all there, right? 83% of these adults are on the platforms, and by late last year, early this year, streaming is making up 44% of all TV time. So that's going to jump in Q4 with that family co-viewing moments that Wes was mentioning before, and that's exactly where the brands need to be in order to present. Just as important as connected TV, though, is shoppable now. So nearly 60% of these people say that TV or CTV ads are actually helping their holiday purchase decisions. And about 7 in 10 will scan QR codes in the moment to learn more. So that's why you're seeing a lot of those QR codes down in the corners, or they put up a big one on the screen at the end of the commercial, things like that. It's because 83% of us, I hate being a part of that statistic, but I am, are watching TV and using our phones at the exact same time. It creates a faster, purchase process for everybody, and a faster converting process in terms of getting them to drive into that next level of interest as well. So the phones are where the carts are going to be, filled up. The phones are where the purchases are going to be made, but the streaming TV makes an incredible impact on those. And finally, Gen Z, God bless them, is setting the tone for the discovery phase here, right? They're about twice as likely to buy straight from social. I'm a millennial, but I also have some pretty impulsive things. I remember I saw one ad for some new polos recently, and I bought it on the first ad that I saw because I love them so much, right? You click, you buy, it's that easy. And they have all of our credit card information stuff saved to the platform now. It is dangerous. I have got to clean up my credit card debt. So what we're going to get into next, and it's about how, right? What October moments do we need to use? What does value look like on connected TV, and the simple measurement that works? Let's see here. Oh yeah, Prime Day. I'll take this one, Wes.
Okay.
So we got to think about Prime Day, y'all. Prime Day this year was not just a day. It's a full-on event, right? They had it 4 days from July 8th through July 11th, which did two big things for the market today. One, it gave shoppers more time to compare, and it gave these brands windows to show up. But it also created a blueprint for this holiday season that we're approaching right now. Amazon actually called it their biggest Prime Day ever, and it was literally that because one, it was 4 days long, and they confirmed that they, I think, topped their overall retail numbers of spend across the United States during those 4 days, and it was up like 30% year over year, which is absolutely wild. Crucially, as part of this entire kind of consumer journey that we're following, mobile devices drove 53% of that spend in particular. And that's our first Q4 lesson for right now. If your TV creative doesn't hand off to a fast mobile path, we are leaving money on the table, right? So we cannot be doing that. We have to take advantage of every possible opportunity that we have there. So we think about the second thing. These shoppers did not stay within walled gardens. This is what that means. They're not just looking at Amazon. They're comparing it on Target. They're comparing it on Walmart. They're even going to see Wes's e-commerce store.com and checking to see if they can save there. So we need to make sure that we're meeting them where they're at, leveraging Amazon inventory, leveraging Trade Desk inventory, the Google inventory, everything else, even Target and Walmart inventory, and because people are price checking because they are so price conscious here. The third thing that we need to look at what moved. These everyday essentials were actually topping the shopping carts. So in these tight seasons, these consumers are using the major events to stock up on things like your Dove body soap. Thank you, Wes, for that one. And for Q4, that is arguing for a, let's call it a value forward message on bundling those core items. But it can also highlight savings and convenience for them. And then if they can attach something else to it with other retail media, they can actually get a lot more out of it too. So that's when it's going to create spikes in the demand in particular. So this is our blueprint for Q4, you guys. We need to make your sales multi-day, not, one-day fireworks. We need to pre-book the streaming for the start and end of each promo that they're running and not just awareness bursts, and then retarget the retail media in the middle as well. You have to assume the mobile closes, so make sure you have that mobile media going. Include the QR links and the streaming TV ads if you can. Make sure that you can offer wallet pay if necessary, transparent fees. They're looking at every single line item there on their breakout or their broken out receipts. And then finally, almost most importantly, plan for rivals. There's going to be competition in the exact same window. You'll be able to hold on to certain budget levers to respond if the Walmarts and Targets are undercutting, but you need to make sure that you're prepared for those things, right? We just got to plan for the what ifs. So that's what our recommendation is for October and why we use this kind of 3-wave calendar. So you can seed the value early with your consumers, escalate it across multi-day holiday events, and then let your retail media capture the demand that CTV is creating. There's a major mindset, there's a major mindset shift that shoppers have now too. So we got to think about what that looks like first. And it's crazy when we talk about this because I know every single one of us experienced this. And so you don't normally talk about it. And it's just nice when you're like, oh, that happened to me here. I remember this happened here. Deals are everything. We're no longer just impulsively buying the first thing because most people are now attuned to the fact where they're like, I won't buy it now. I'm going to get retargeted with a 10% off ad, right? So they're not necessarily buying it the second they see it, and they will go after a deal even if they see something they like right there on the spot. This means that advertisers cannot lead with the brand alone. The value has to be front and center. Second, consumers are budget conscious. Literally the exact same thing. Deals are everything, and they're budget conscious. So especially with the economic uncertainties, the inflation, the tariffs, we need to position advertisers with clear value levers, create bundles, and even loyalty offers, or even flexible payments for like the buy now, pay later, whether they're using Klarna or other goofy little payoff systems they got. Do it. It's definitely going to help out any which way you can there. And then lastly, there's a shift in what people are actually buying. We're seeing fewer big ticket items. They're focusing more in on those everyday essentials and creating small splurges there as well. Think of like protein shakes, household goods, or affordable, fashionable pieces. I'm a big Target guy. I love a good shirt from Target myself.
Great style, Ben.
Right. I just don't. I mean, my wife brings home a nice shirt. I'm like, how much did you pay for that one? So we have to make sure that we're running those campaigns that emphasize the utility and affordability for these folks, and it's not just based off of luxury, right? And then finally, and again, God bless these Gen Zers. They're changing the game on us, you guys. They're discovering products on the TikTok before they even hit the search bar. They're value hunting on platforms like Temu or Shein. which obviously resonate with those budget conscious shoppers. And they're also comfortable using AI shopping assistants to provide personalized recommendations. I actually just did the same thing recently before I went and purchased something online. I said, "Hey, are there any deals or ways I could save money on this kind of product that I'm trying to purchase?" And it literally listed like 10 different coupons that I could use, or another store that had a better deal, or said, "Hey, wait, you should, wait until like Thursday to buy it because this store is going to have it for this price." It is absolutely wild. Absolutely freaking wild. So think about that. These Gen Zers are changing the game, and these kids these days have all these weird things they say too. No cap, no cap, Wes.
I don't know, man.
They got
Six,
this new thing. They say 6'7", 6'7".
yeah, I don't
What
know
does
what
that
that
even
means.
mean?
Yeah.
What does that even mean? They're creating these moments like we're having right now, Wesley. They're not just thinking in channels, they think in these moments. And it's a good reminder for all of us, right? Shoppers are not saying, "I only shop at Amazon, I only shop in the store." They're moving across these channels fluidly. And especially during the holidays when they got to buy one of everything for everybody, they think in those moments and they're stocking up during the Prime Day and they're finding inspiration on TikTok and and while they're watching the Thanksgiving Day parade with their family. So, our job as agencies and partners is to help meet them in those moments across all of those channels with value driven offers.
Yeah, and I think one thing we've kind of hammered through this webinar is, people are price conscious. There are a lot of kind of external factors that impact all of us in our day-to-day decisions right now. And it's really important that as we work with our advertisers, that we are driving those differentiating points, that we're driving the value, of those products or services. And to Ben's point, it's so important right now that we're meeting users where they're at in that moment, as opposed to kind of leaning on historically, we know they're on XYZ channel. The user kind of process is just changing so dramatically right now that, we really need to lean into the data and finding those users in real time.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. And you know what, Wes? Speaking of moment, I think I'll take a moment to talk about how this will help us go from seasonal spend to long-term growth. Obviously, the sales guy over here turning it into a freaking pitch or something like that, right?
Right.
Can't help it. So let's think about how we can turn this into long-term growth, you guys. When you're thinking about the holiday campaigns, it's not just as a single push, but as a series of waves. Wave one, kick it off in October. 1 to 3 shoppers. I think I actually need to load something. Oh yeah, wave one. 1 in 3 shoppers are starting to research before Halloween, and so these advertisers who are now waiting till Black Friday are already behind. I'm already shopping right now, even though I said I wait till the 24th. I don't buy things till the 24th, but I'm at least doing my research now.
That's right.
Then when I find it on the 24th, they're like, "Oh, it'll be delivered on the 28th." I'm like, "Whoops. Let's do a little small business shopping on the 24th of December," right? Oh gosh. So agencies should be guiding their clients to launch those value-based offers early. Remember bundling, including essentials, financing options, and then using connected TV and YouTube for reach and frequency, seeding those first-party audiences with tools like QR codes that link to those gift guides or store finders, right? Make it easier for them to find it. Wave two is the Cyber 5 harvest. And I did not know what the Cyber 5 was until I started planning for this webinar. Apparently, the Cyber 5 is those days leading up to Cyber Monday, right? You have Thanksgiving, you have Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, forgot what it was Sunday, and then Cyber Monday, right? So wave two, those 2 weeks around Thanksgiving, this is when that urgency is really driving action to those people. Get that order now so it's shipped and in your mailbox before the 15th or the 24th when you actually have to open up the gifts, right? Shipping deadlines, gift cards, and then creatives should rotate daily. I know Wes is talking about creatives a little bit here as well, but the competition is so dang fierce, you guys, that you need to be doing this. You need to, again, putting it plainly, meet them where they need to be met. Wave three, as we break this last part down, is to run from late December, or excuse me, early to late December, even through Christmas. There's some people that go and they make a bunch of returns get some cash back for it, but they take that cash and put it into something else. I return a lot of stuff because my family does not know how to shop for me. Love returning it, cashing it in, go get myself something, or I'll buy Wes a nice piece of prime rib or something whenever we get together, right?
There we go.
So keep that, at this point when those goals are shifting, you have to sustain the awareness and convert them into loyalty. Keep the connected TV light touch to maintain the salience there. But while you also include the retargeting, it's going to start exposing some of the cohorts with loyalty or gift card offers, things like that. So this is like a good way to keep seeding that continuity of the messaging even through January. So this is now where we're going to turn this into long-term growth, you guys. Because of this approach, it's going to reduce your waste, it's going to maximize ROI, and we're going to ride into 4, 5, 6 beyond that as well. Capture them early, convert the deal seekers regularly, and then extend into loyalty heading into Q1. And as I mentioned, creative matters. Creative is definitely important here. Wesley, tell me about your experience with creative and these types of things.
Yeah, I think again, competition is fierce right now, right? So we need to make sure that our advertisers are standing out. And so, the very first kind of recommendation here is let's lead it with value. Shoppers this year are cautious, they're deal driven. We've talked about that. That means creative can't just be pretty. It's got to be offering something, either a value or a differentiator. I think for users like Ben, it's probably important maybe throw a deadline in there so he's not trying to buy something that's going to be 10 days late. There's free shipping, there's bundles, there's loyalty perks, there's anything that can catch a user's eye. It's super important in kind of this, competitive landscape that we're looking at. And so we always say a best practice as well is to A, B, C, D test these offers. And that's kind of where we see this value in this multi-wave approach, is that we can start to fine tune what messaging is working in October, leading into November, leading into December, and we're not kind of guessing, in those really important moments where we need to succeed. And then the second thing is just beyond connected TV. We want to make sure that the other media mix that we're enabling for our advertisers is optimized for mobile. We know 56% of e-commerce sales are happening on smartphones. It's super important that as 83% of us are watching streaming TV ads and we're also scrolling on our phone, that if we see that ad on our TV, if we click on that QR code or scan that QR code, we're going to a mobile-friendly landing page that makes it easy for us to convert in real time, drive those conversion rates up, drive that ROI, and make sure we're getting that attribution for our clients.
So you want to make sure you're not just driving them to that place, right? You want to make sure that we're capturing them, qualifying it, and then also actually tracking that. You're not going to get the renewal if you weren't able to tell them, like, what was the ROI? What was the success metrics there? What was actually driving value to help the old cash register ring in their business, right?
That's right. And we'll touch on kind of what do we do after the holiday season as well. But step three, or kind of third recommendation here, and we just kind of touched on it, this multi-wave approach, is we're not just going to run the same creative, right? We need to sequence it out. And so October messaging should really be focused on, gift guides. What are like kind of the inspiration of what, family members might want. November, that starts to shift into that Cyber 5 focus. We need to start pushing urgency, shipping deadlines for Ben, please help him out. December, we need to lean into gift cards, continuity offers. Sequencing gives, the campaign a really strong narrative through the process, and that advertiser is really kind of honing in on the user in that kind of that decision-making process of that journey they're on, rather than just running, repetitive ads over and over again that we all kind of get numb to. It's really important that we're starting to be really, strategic in our creative usage. And the fourth thing is just matching creative with the context. If we're buying really cultural tent poles like the Macy's Thanksgiving parade or like NFL holiday games, we want to tailor our creative messaging around those moments. Again, it's all about the moments. We're with our families. We want to make sure that we're kind of drawing on those heartstrings and really kind of building that loyalty towards our brands. And then the last one, again, seeding in those loyalty hooks. December buyers are become January loyalists. If you want to kind of, plant that right message in Q4, we want to kind of hint at, redeeming holiday gift cards. We want to keep saving all year with exclusive rewards. Join our membership now. These are all ways that us as partners and agencies can help our advertisers build that loyalty, build out, that retention of our clients and really show that ROI, not just in Q4, but stemming into Q1 as well.
Absolutely. I tell me where to sign up for your membership, Wes. I'm there. So, at the center of this holiday funnel, we're breaking it down for you guys here. You have the awareness stage, the consideration stage, the conversion stage, and finally, the proof. Each one of these need to have specific objectives and roles and strategies put into them to ensure that downstream you're going to help get that renewal, you're going to help that advertiser boost their sales, stay in front of that audience, create that loyalty, and then show them the real proof of that ROI, right? So they're demanding this now. So you need to make sure that you work with partners that can, tie it all together. You need to make sure that you have the attribution, that you are including the retargeting. And if you have, I know a lot of times this requires like pixel placement, right? AdSellerant offers free pixel placement for all of their partners and advertisers. We know it generates a story of success when we create those attribution models and are able to talk about what those success metrics really contributed in terms of ROI and even dollars for their business. So the takeaway here is that if you're an agency or a media group or anybody, a local marketer that's selling advertising, position CTV not as a silo tactic, but as the entry point to the full funnel strategy that you can measure, prove, and extend into 2026. You see how that happened? I just went for the upsell. Extend.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Thanks for noticing.
Yeah. So, I think at the end of the day, we're talking about all these things we can do for our advertisers. I think the first question that our advertisers would come back to us is say, how do I even know this worked, right? Like why did I spend all this money? What did it do for me? And so that's where, the power of attribution and retargeting can really kind of bolster this for the clients as well as for our partners and their retention. And so, unlike traditional linear TV where we don't have a lot of insights, Connected TV provides us that closed loop attribution with, again, that cross device graph that I brought up earlier, a lot of tech jargon there. We are able to track who saw the ad, who engaged either with the scan of that QR code or visited the website on their mobile device. We can attribute that page view to that streaming TV impression. We can then monitor site traffic. We can then see who converted on the website as well. We can start to really unlock what an advertiser can also do after the holidays. So we're this huge plan for October, November, December. We're building a ton of momentum. Every impression, every engagement, every site visit becomes a data point where advertisers can then retarget. And so if we set this up correctly, those November, December holiday shoppers are the same people that we want to then retarget with loyalty programs, or we can even layer on, purchase data and say, hey, we noticed you didn't make this purchase going into the holidays. Here's, a deal in Q1, come back to us and see what we can provide. And that's where we can really start to lean into retention for Q1 in January and February. And so why, again, does this matter? Well, advertisers who retarget their, holiday shoppers specifically are seeing a 25 to 35% higher retention rate in Q1. It is imperative that we are getting in front of these users that we just invested a ton in Q4 to capture. Now we're re-engaging them in Q1. We're creating that loyalty to the brand. We're driving home the differentiators and making sure that we're capturing them for all of 2026, not just here in 2025. And so that just means, spend in December isn't just delivering, short-term revenue lists for our clients. It's also building that pipeline for repeat sales, loyalty programs, opportunities for upsells of, substitute or competitive products. It really gives, us as the partners a way to prove ROI beyond just, vanity metrics like impressions and clicks. We can walk into Q1 and say, hey, here's what we drove for you from an attribution standpoint. Here's the revenue that the holiday campaign drove, and here's how we're turning those same users into long-term customers.
Wes, can you help me with an advertiser call I got coming up tomorrow?
Yeah, man, always.
What I'm talking about. And by the way, he helps with our partners advertisers. You can not only white label the AdSellerant ecosystem, you can white label our great people too, because we don't win unless you do. So, real quick, I just want to throw out that case in point one more time. if these advertisers are measuring and retargeting appropriately, then I have another 30% chance of actually an increased by 30% chance of actually continuing them through Q1.
Yeah, it's an amazing stat.
So it's like, why not do it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. I love it. Wesley, these holiday campaigns are not the end game. We got to keep selling. We got to close the deal. Always be selling, always be closing, always be getting contracts, right? So
Coffee closers.
coffee is for closers. I need to re-up on mine in particular. I appreciate it, Wes. You are honorary biz dev team and one of the closers here. I appreciate you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We're going to keep it open for a quick Q&A. And in the meantime, I'm going to see who has been our LinkedIn followers. I'll grab someone here, but feel free to use the Q&A or excuse me, the chat feature to ask any questions. All righty. Well, I don't see any questions quite yet. I want to remind everybody of our webinar coming up next month. I'm going to have a couple of freaking juggernauts on there, some of our data analysts. Hopefully, I can spice it up for you guys along with it. But we're going to continue on this talk track with CTV in particular. And we're going to be diving into how these leaders can package streaming for maximum impact. So today we talked a lot about what that actual blueprint looks like. Now we can talk about literal packaging and how the data analytics and attribution will help tie into that 30% increase to close it into next year. Our winner for today looks like Zach. You'll be getting a nice little $20 Amazon gift card. Heck yeah. Thanks for following Accelerant, liking us on LinkedIn. Hope to see everybody on the next one. Thank you so much to everybody that joined us. And thank you, Wesley, for joining me today. I had a great time with you, buddy.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Hope you all have a great rest of your day, great Friday, going in the long weekend, hopefully. And yeah, appreciate everyone joining. Make sure you sign up for that webinar in October. It's going to be some great stuff.
Heck yeah. Let's get into Q4, baby.
Let's do it. Thanks, everybody.
Have a good one, y'all.